Hey guys, Mecha Knight here, and it sure has been a while since the last Gloria region video, and I didn't mean to keep you waiting this long, but we're finally back. Now, as Pokémon fans, we all love to reminisce about things that were better in the earlier generations. Cooler Pokémon, better balancing, whatever you want to call it. We just like to reminisce, whether you like Charizard more than Infernape, or Blastoise more than Inteleon. The one thing I liked more about the past generations, now I'm not saying I just liked this one thing, they were pretty good. But one thing I do miss is something that was added in Generation 2. No, I don't mean baby Pokemon. I mean adding split evolutions. We all know what split evolution is. Poliwrath or Politoed. Vileplume or Bellossom. But something unique about those two examples is, when they were originally added, those weren't split evolutions. Now, I've all seen Pokemon get extra evolutions before, such as Girafarig getting Farigiraf. However, we've not seen an adding of a split evolution since, unless you count Pokemon getting different evolutions if they're a regional form, but I don't really think that counts. We haven't seen any examples of Politoed or Bellossom. However, there's one other unique thing, which I'll get to later, but I think it's about time we got to the first Pokemon, Angeky, a fairy fighting type. Now, one of the things I really liked about them is how they would kind of be opposites. Vileplume and Bellossom were opposites. However, another thing I liked about them, they didn't have to be. They were very unique in how they did it, because take, for example, Politoed and Poliwrath. Personally, I think Politoed makes much more sense as an evolution of that line than Poliwrath. Because Poliwag and Poliwhirl are tadpoles, what do tadpoles become? Frogs. They don't stay as tadpoles, but become fighting type. However, this one I did go the opposite of Annihilate by making Angeky. The name comes from angel and monkey, bit obvious on that one, and it's essentially the opposite of the opposite of Annihilate, evolving for Primeape when using Calm Fist 20 times in one fight. Now, they evolve into Annihilate. It's considered that in an earlier Dex entry, some Primates become so angry they can die as a result. So people have thought that's what Annihilate is referencing. I'm referencing kind of the Pokemon dying or leaving its body, but more in a spiritual sense, where they become uplifted. Here's their shiny, a clear Sorry, I can't speak today. A clear reference to Annihilate, and I feel like I just had to do it. It was the obvious choice. Next up on the docket, we've got Ferromaton, a steel type. And this evolves from Ferroseed when you reach level 40 whilst not knowing any grass type moves. Now this is an example of what I really liked about those. Take for example Gloom evolving into Bellossom. Now, Gloom evolving into Vileplume makes sense, but Gloom evolving into Bellossom, it still makes sense, but Gloom loses the poison type. Now, Pokemon do change types when they evolve, but nowadays, it's very rare to see a Pokemon where they lose a type where they evolve, going from a two-typed Pokemon to a single-typed Pokemon. And especially when you're adding an evolution to a Pokemon, I think that's a unique way to go, and I think we really don't get enough of that in modern Pokemon. So Ferromaton, it's kind of my example of what if Ferroseed, the plants died and it got rusted. Now, it's kind of a basic concept, the same thing with Angeky, but I feel like when you're adding an evolution to an existing line, a few more basic concepts make sense since the groundwork's already there. You don't need some ground-changing new concept like you would with a regional form. Take Dunsparce or Farigiraf. Those two don't really change the base Pokemon that much. They're just what the evolution of that Pokemon would look like if they had gotten an evolution in the first place. That doesn't mean I like the Dunsparce anymore, though. And here's the shiny of Ferromaton. I decided to make it white, kind of referencing old astronaut suits. I don't know why my mind went in that direction, but I thought it would be a cool idea. And lastly for today, we've got Brass Silver. Now, you might not have been expecting this Pokemon, since it's a split evolution of a Pokemon that was only given to us recently in Scarlet and Violet, that being Charcadet. Now, Charcadet evolves by killing a bunch of Fire-type Pokemon or a bunch of Ghost-type Pokemon, and both of them are based on weapons, Armarouge cannons and Cerulege swords. Now, I wanted this Pokemon, Brass Silver, to have another unique take. So they're a Steel Fire type, and you've got to defeat 30 Steel-type Pokemon in battle to evolve them. And I based them off of Brass Knuckles, which some would say is a bit too dark for Pokemon, but Pokemon have plenty of dark origins people don't talk about enough. Now, Brass Silver, what I did is I found a theme in Armarouge and Cerulege that I don't think many other people have noticed, and I think people should bring more attention to it. It's less a theme and more just a design point, but if you look closely, you'll see that Armarouge and Cerulege both have different heats of fire on them, be it red fire, which is the normal fire, Cerulege having purple fire, which is ultra hot fire, and this having green fire, which is my idea of like a chemical fire. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure fire can become green when it's really hot, though I will have to fact check that. And it's also partially based on Greek fire, a type of fire that could supposedly still burn in water. You can see that in the design where I did orange attributes to show like rust. Steel and fire act with water very similarly, both being hurt by it basically, steel rusting and fire being put out, and so I thought combining it with Greek fire would be a good idea. Also, I just like the green, pink and orange colour scheme. I think it's a really good idea. And the pink in the eye really makes the design pop in my opinion. Here's the shiny. It's based on purple flames, as you could see, with obsidian for the orange bits. It's basically just made to look like Cerulege, which I feel like is what they should have done with the shinies in the first place. Made Armarouge look like Cerulege, Cerulege look like Armarouge. If I did my Pokemon to it, I felt like I had to do this. And you can tell I didn't do a full change, just to stay with the theme of the first two shinies. Anyway, thanks for watching today's episode. I'll make sure to try and get more Gloria region videos out to you faster than I did this time. But I'll see you guys next time.